Man, I'm done with Mars of Destruction, man. That was just like it wasn't that bad, but it was still really bad for what it was. I can still make fun of it with someone else. That would be pretty funny. So yeah, I'm 2, 3 out of 2, like in between of 2, 3 out of 10. That's fine. But now it's time for Hellsing. My boy Alucard, it is time! Hello guys, Survivor here. Welcome back to yet another episode of Anime Reviews. This is episode 3, and in this episode, we are going to be reviewing Hellsing, the 2001 anime, which, by the way, I got on DVD. The reason why I wanted to review this like coming up after my Mars of Destruction review, which, by the way, I got my Dragon Ball Super Sure on. If you guys haven't noticed, look at your boy, like Vegito for the win. And y'all probably wondering, like, why? Like, it's because I was watching it recently. Like, I actually rewatched this like 2 to 3 times, and this fucking show, like, even though it was made back in 2001, there were definitely better animation. Which, wait, I'm kind of wondering, who the fuck made this one? Pioneer Entertainment? No, that's in fucking America. Yeah, I don't know who actually really made this, who actually developed this show. But Hellsing, 2001. I know a lot of people. Now I know we are all probably wondering, oh, what did you think of Hellsing Ultimate? I actually did a like, because my old anime reviews were long as fuck. Like look at my Shakugan no Shana review, look at my Dragon Ball GDT review, look at my fucking Attack on Titan review. Those are long, but and it has crap ass quality compared to this greatness. But I remember reviewing Hellsing Ultimate back then. It was like 42 minutes long. And I remember giving it, I think, a 9 out of 10, maybe an 8. And my only gripe with it at the time, I think, was because of the comedy moments that came in here and there, which, yeah, a lot of people didn't really like. Some comedy moments just coming in here and there that just kind of came out of nowhere. So, which is another problem at the author, which is the same person that made Hellsing and they're making Drifters, and it kind of suffers from the same problem, which I'm like, really? But yeah, and a lot of people don't really talk about the original Hellsing that much, other than the people that actually watched it, and that's because a lot of people watch Ultimate, and that's really the only one that people really mention, and it's kind of a bit disrespectful. It's the same thing with Fullmetal Alchemist when it comes to Fullmetal Alchemist and Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. People mention Brotherhood because it's a remake and it actually follows the entire manga storyline. But, well, I wouldn't say it follows, like, it adapts every damn thing because it was made by the same studio and they already adapted what they already adapted in the original anime. It's the same thing. Like, people always prefer the later versions because it's more likely the better material and better, you know, stuff, which I don't really get, because the original Fullmetal Alchemist was praised for what it was. It was even named as top 5 animes of all time back then. And now, because since Brotherhood came out, because it didn't follow the original manga, it's now a shit show. I mean, I can see why people didn't like the more darker route and, you know, more darker, you know, route or route, but still, like, it's still a really good show with the characters still being the same, great writing. I mean, I wouldn't say exactly the same, because the story does go in a different direction, but it still was really good for what it was, because it was still Fullmetal Alchemist, just in a darker tone, and it's kind of one of the reasons why I just love darker stories, low-key. I don't know, because now that I think about it, I might as well just go and try to watch the original Berserk anime and see what I think. But back to Hellsing, I watched this first before I watched Ultimate, and this is still a great show, even for the time though. I mean, okay, the animation doesn't hold up for like shows like Dragon Ball Z back then, but I'm sure it was made by a medium studio, but it was still great for what it was. the characters. And I feel like the simplicity of the animation really does work for it, though, honestly. So I think that it does going up in its favor. Because when the animation is in its good and really cool moments, it does show, though, at times. Like the infamous Alucard versus Luke Valentine parts when Alucard releases another, one of his steals a little bit. It does show me, it isn't like on Ultimate how Madhouse did that, but it was still great for what it was still good for what it was. Again, back in 2001. It's still, I still really love it for what it is, and you cannot go wrong with that freaking awesome soundtrack. Oh, and by the way, the character development is honestly better here. I'm just being honest. Anyway, though, if y'all want to see a real debate on Hellsing versus Hellsing Ultimate, go watch Anime America's video on which ones are better. And she does, and Robin does a really good job on breaking down on what they both do great and what flaws they both have. So I recommend watching that video. That's fucking good. But we're here to review it, and I did go over the animation. And like I said, the animation for how simple it is for most of the time still works for what it is. It definitely does. Honestly, it works for a lot of scenes, and for what Hellsing is, that's pretty good. I just want to get that out of the way because there really isn't much to talk about the animation. Because like I said, just But what is Hellsing? That's what y'all probably wondering now, even after I did that stuff and whatever. I go all over the place. I know you're not the first to tell me. Hellsing, the original anime, follows a vampire by the name of Alucard, which, by the way, he actually hunts other vampires in the name of the Hellsing organization, run by Integra Hellsing. Integra is Alucard's master, and pretty much like he just likes killing shit, but like he likes killing vampires, but you do see that he just wants a bigger challenge. Like he is like Goku, but in a more sadistic way, and it is fucking glorious. You should literally listen to his English dub voice. Motherfucker fucking nails it. And the first episode starts off with Alucard hunting down another vampire like a boss, because he is a boss. And later in the episode, we follow on a little bit later, we follow another character named Sarah Victoria, who eventually ends up getting in the middle of some bullshit with the vampires in the first episode, and she ends up pretty much about getting killed in the process. But Alucard, who is in the midst of all this, comes on to her and gives her a choice on whether or not she wants to become a vampire or not, or just die in peace. And Sarah accepts Alucard as her master, and now she's a vampire and part of the Hellsing organization, and trying to get used to her newly found vampire abilities. I just want to talk about the character development here, because here's something that I will, for the love of God, will never get. Okay, I get Sarah's development that does happen in Ultimate, but like especially in the 5th OVA episode. But what pisses me off is how quickly in Ultimate she gets used to it. Now I'm sure it has something to do with the fact that they end up skipping the stuff that they probably thought, because in the first episode, or even 2, thought that you already watched the original Hellsing anime and thought you already knew what these characters were going through at the time, especially Sarah's. And they so quickly just went by that, and even though I do like Sarah's as she progressed throughout Ultimate, but they still end up cutting out like the stuff that made her character in the original. So I'm sure in the manga, for what I found anyway, saw her struggle. She's still trying to get used to it. Hell, throughout the episodes, throughout the early episodes, she's like just trying to keep her humanity, not trying to become a full-on vampire. Like she's just holding on to that humanity, and you can totally see that she just wants to keep being herself because she doesn't want to change into a fucking monster. You can kind of pretty much see that. It's kind of like Lucia a little bit from Devil May Cry 2. A little bit. There's even a moment in one of the early episodes where Alucard gives her the choice to, like, do you really want to become, you know, free from me, like not be my not like I shall not be your master anymore. And Sarah's is like, no, like she can't, because it's at that point, because again she's still trying to process and get used to all this. And when Alucard presents her that choice, she's like, no, like you know. You definitely see her struggle, and it's something that's really cool, and especially on the later episodes, they do establish that a bit. It's a little bit. But it shows that she is slowly getting used to it as you do see it go along. Because there's even a joke that she does on one of the men. Like, oh, hello, we heard that there's a vampire in one of these platoons. And Sarah just kind of walks up to him and Lin like just turns his and just bends his fucking gun barrel right at him and just giggles about it. You just know at that point she's kind of like used to it a little bit. You can see that, and that's what I really liked about it. That Sarah's character development was great. Alucard, again, this man's a legend. I just don't know. I don't need to express. Like, just look up on some clips of the original anime on YouTube for Alucard. This dude, this shouldn't be any worse, because if you're in the anime community, you'll know who Alucard is. Except for if you're new to the community, I hope you don't get confused from the Alucard from Castlevania, because those are two completely different characters. But anyway, that is definitely. And then there's Integra, who in my opinion kind of felt like one of those boss, you know, type characters, and she is, but she does, like, you know, there is more to her. And what ended up of her becoming one of my favorite characters is one of the later episodes. Actually, two. This woman, especially her backstory episode, which was episode 10, it's one of my favorite episodes ever. And it's just one of the, and it's easily, hands down, my favorite Hellsing episode of all time. And then there's Walter, who's pretty much like he's like a mix of Alfred from Batman, which I'm pretty sure he's like a mix of both Alfred from Batman, who's like a butler, but he's also like Lucius Fox, a mix of him as well. That ends up making these cool ass fucking weapons. Like he ended, like one of the early episodes, he shows Alucard like a couple different guns he uses, and he literally gives Sarah's like a big ass sniper rifle. Which Walter, even though he doesn't do much in this show, he's kind of, you know, cool. But in one of the episodes, shows that he's kind of a badass. I mean, if you watch Hellsing Ultimate, y'all fucking know about that. But he's pretty cool here too. Let's be real about that. He's decently cool here. You guys should know. And what really makes this show so damn good, in my opinion, is the music. The fucking music. This music, bro. Like, it's mostly jazz, but it works for how the show is, especially for what, like, it has like this this cyberpunk type. I mean, okay, I wouldn't say cyberpunk, but kind of, you know, it's something you would hear off of like something like Cowboy Bebop or Trigun, at least for what I've heard anyway from their soundtracks. And it works here. It really does. Because really, throughout the episode, you get introduced to other characters and all these other things that happen. And the anime does go out of its way to do an anime original pathline, which is I feel like that's where people didn't like the anime, is that they stopped doing the stuff that was happening in the which I'm sure is like at a time when the manga was because again, it was a monthly manga, so they didn't get to the all that stuff in Ultimate until like much later, which is the reason why Hellsing Ultimate's OVAs came out at a pretty weird time. But so like after the Valentine brother fucking arc that happens in the middle of the season, they go into a different storyline, which again, It's one of the better anime original storylines, right next to the Red Guy arc of Bleach, that one arc before the Hidan and Kakuzu arc in Naruto, which, again, one of the reasons why Naruto's fillers aren't always shit. Shusuke Amagai arc wasn't that bad, just being honest, from Bleach. And honestly, just it's one of those anime original stuff that you're like, yeah, this definitely fucking fits. And it introduces a whole new character, anime original character, called Incognito. That motherfucker has one of the best designs. And he's an awesome adversary for Alucard, pretty much throughout the rest of the original anime. He is a great adversary, and he's a great adversary for Alucard. And near the end, and the shit that he pulls off near the end is, wow. The shit that the people get through in this anime at the end, wow, the stakes are high on that shit. Let's just say the end of this show, like I think like episodes 11 through 13 of the original anime, the stakes are high on that shit. While still episodes 9 and 10, especially 10, fucking awesome. Yeah, like, Hellsing is a really good show, and I don't see why people disdain it or end up forgetting about it, don't talk about it that much, because we got a better version, which is Ultimate. And I don't necessarily say that Ultimate is better, like, don't get me wrong, the animation, for the amount of time that Madhouse took on that shit, bruh. The amount of time Madhouse took their time on Ultimate's animation, they did that greatly, and the story itself was interesting. The characters developed a lot, and developed on quite a bit. You get to see who Alucard really is, like who he was back in the day. That's what was great about Ultimate. But honestly, I honestly prefer the original anime because it's a better character story-ish. So I really liked Alucard and his, and you can definitely see like his stance on things here and there, and like even though it doesn't show that much emotion, but it kind of does, and it kind of does in a sense of at certain points, even though there are a few far between, you kind of see that in terms. You do see that in Ultimate as well, but I'm just saying, like, I just really like it here more, honestly. Then again, though, in Ultimate Alucard, yeah, let's just say that Alucard in both versions, they're both fucking awesome. How about that? If y'all want to see how Sarah's developed, I think better, in my opinion, just watch the original. I recommend watching the original anime all the way through, because there'll be more. You get to see the characters more, plus you get to see the full-on backstory. Like, I know Ultimate at the beginning shows how Integra meets up with Alucard, but how episode 10 of the original anime shows it, it's a lot better, honestly, just being real with you. Just watch the original series, and I think, one, skip the very first episode of Ultimate, because it pretty much just rehashes what happens in the first 3 episodes in one OVA, and then I honestly suggest going to episode 2 of Ultimate, because it does do the Valentine brother stuff again, but I honestly thought like it's a great way to catch up. Plus, it does hint at something bigger on the grand scheme of things a little bit, and like on what the true threat really is in that episode, just is a little bit. But by the time it gets to episodes 3 and 4, like, you know, shit's about to go down, boy. So that's why and then like watch the rest of Ultimate after you get done with episode 2 of Ultimate. Just being honest, okay? Because just being honest, like if y'all don't want to see the same shit, then just go straight to episode 3 of Ultimate after the original anime. Then go through the rest of Ultimate. And that's the perfect way to watch Hellsing, in my opinion. Anyway, though, what do I give the original Hellsing anime? Again, the animation, simple, not gonna lie, but I feel like it works for what it is, even though it was made 2001. And the voice actors, especially the ones I saw in the dub, pretty good. like from the dub and actually from what I saw in the sub, like they were pretty good. Like I honestly prefer the dub because the voice dub of Alucard and Integra was pretty cool in the dub. And the character development, especially for Ceres Victoria, and getting to know who more of Integra and all these other characters, plus the really cool shit halfway through the series, halfway through once you get to Incognito. It's really cool. I actually recommend watching it. It's one of the better anime original stuff. I highly recommend it. So yeah, and all in all, I do feel like Hellsing is a really good show. Now, if I had to say something else, like I wouldn't say the villains are all that great. I mean, aside from Incognito, which I thought was a pretty good villain, and the Valentine brothers, they were pretty entertaining for what they were. But all in all, like I wouldn't say like Hellsing is like a must buy, must go, like go watch it, whatever, go over, you must fucking watch it or something like that. Like no, I would say Hellsing, in my personal opinion, is probably an 8 out of 10. I think an 8 out of 10 is definitely where I feel like the original Hellsing series should be at, because there are definitely parts where you're like, okay, it's pretty interesting, but it's not like mind-blowingly stuff. Like I said, the character development in this is great, but it's not like the best, you know what I mean? That's just how I want to put it. Like originally, while I was thinking about all this stuff, saying all this, I was gonna give it a 9 out of 10. But I was thinking about think about it a little bit. Yeah, 8 out of 10 really does fit. But I still recommend watching the original Hellsing because the atmosphere, bruh, the atmosphere in this series, along with the visuals, pretty good for 2001. Pretty good. Like things get the tensions are on full speed at times. Anyway, though, that's where I'm gonna end my Hellsing 2001 anime review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like the video if y'all enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more, comment what y'all think. And if y'all are new to the channel, if you want to see more, sure to subscribe for more. Hope you guys enjoy it. See you guys in episode 4 at some point. And let's just say my next one that I'm planning on probably gonna do is based off of a certain gambling anime. Y'all probably know which one that is.